weekend vacation. Grab your stool, squat on down for crappy animation. Let the gangsta commentary prop open your eyelids and watch some TV shows that have aged even worse than they did. So fill your bowls, use your spoons, it's Saturday morning cartoons.
Happy
Saturday, everybody! Saturday morning
Yahoo!
cartoons. Welcome to the show. This is the show where we watch good, bad, mostly bad cartoons from the golden age of Saturday morning. And I'm Joe, and there's Nick, and there's George, and special guest, we have Scott Raile from Colorado, a longtime Melinda, a contributor to the show. You gave me that tamale video that was a George's deathbed vision. But the reason we're having you on now, Scott, is because we're going to watch a Beatles cartoon that you called to my attention. You are a Beatles expert. You wrote a book on John Lennon, so you're a Beatles expert. So yes, and we'll talk about the book in a second. But welcome. Thank you for being here.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. Long-time listener, first-time caller. Really nice to be
nice one.
Part of the official canon.
Well, just so right off the bat, though, I always thought the Beatles were batting 1,000 as far as like media stuff goes. You know, their movies are always pretty good,
right.
And but this cartoon is the exception to the rule. This is a hot pile of steaming. This is, other than the music. I mean, the music's the best part, but But thank you for bringing this to my attention. So.
Yeah, sure. And in defense of the Beatles, they had nothing to do with it. They did not like it. They did not enjoy it. And so they've kind of washed their hands of it. I think it's interesting that if you want to just, go to Amazon and buy the Beatles cartoon series on Blu-ray, you can't. It's not out there officially.
No, I know,
and it probably never will be.
But they still said yes to it. So, and
they're managing.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, technically.
Yes.
So,
right.
All right. Let's talk about mugs. Let's talk about cereals. What do you guys got?
Let me start because I think I'm the odd man out. I went with George. Somebody jealous? Pumpkin spice special K, buddy.
That is still. What do you think of it? Have you or is this your inaugural bite?
I'm going to take a bite now. Is it too subtle, do you think, or is it good?
I really enjoyed it.
Yep. Just the right amount of pumpkin spice. Got to take advantage between Halloween and Thanksgiving. That's your only time. So
Nick, I see your figure getting slimmer too. Like as you're chewing, I see your figure getting slimmer.
Yeah, that's crazy. What happens. That's what happens with Special K. It's a fitness cereal, really.
He's lost 5 pounds of beard already.
I know. Yep.
I like the mustache from last week. I decided to keep it.
Here's what I have. I decided to. Okay, so here's the thing. I got this mug at a place called Roadside America. Nick, you and I have stopped off there on our way from shows, and it's this guy, this madman in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, Charlottesville, Pennsylvania. He was he made what are they called? The miniature railroads.
Like a diorama of.
But it was he was like a railroad,
railroad.
Model railroad. That's what it is. Model railroad guy, and he made this entire, probably like an acre of a model railroad with the city, and the sun would go down. It was very ambitious. Nick, I went there recently. It's closed down, and they can't find a buyer, and so I think they dismantled the entire thing. So this guy's life work. This is like his Great Wall of China. This took him I think 50 years to make. It's no more. So I just have the mug. So I thought I would commemorate it today. George, you're from Pennsylvania. Do you know about Roadside America?
Yeah, I thought you were going to say, and it's up for sale. So if we do a GoFundMe,
but no. I don't know. Maybe they're in boxes. I don't know. I don't really want to put it back together.
Well, I mean, if you do that and add an Alf Museum, maybe there's enough crossover to people coming off the Pennsylvania Turnpike.
Well, and maybe a clown museum.
Museum, yeah. I've always wanted to have my own roadside attraction, so I think I'm interested. I'm an interested buyer.
You could piggyback on this, Nick, and you could. All right.
My memory of Roadside America is I was dating somebody new, and she came along on a trip with us. We stopped at that Roadside America, and Joe, you intentionally farted really badly.
Yeah.
You had just met this person.
Yep. You had too.
Well, little more recent. Yeah, but you know,
Yeah.
and you had no qualms, and then to the point where everybody had to acknowledge it and be like, "What? Why does it smell so bad?" And
Yeah.
you kind of just started laughing. And
Yeah.
I hear that's why it closed down. Is there any?
That was the last day they were in business.
The
Charlottesville.
train stopped running on time. It was
I gave him a little Charlottesville of my own there, if you know what I mean.
no longer
Nick,
together
did
with
you
that
say
person.
intentionally, Nick? That was an intentional move?
Oh yeah. He did not.
Okay.
He was not trying to hold it in.
Yeah.
I will
No,
say
I
that.
don't. Yeah, I don't know why either. I think. Yeah, I don't know.
Took a risk, and I guess it paid off.
It paid off. Yeah. What do you, George, Scott? What do you guys got?
Well, I've got a. I don't know if this is going to show up, but this is a Beatles cup. This is glass. This is a Help cup from the movie Help. Wasn't in the movie Help, but it was. It's Beatles. It's a glass. It's Saturday morning cartoons. I've checked my box here.
Was that a Christmas present from somebody, or was that a birthday present or something?
I bought it 2 days ago at an antique store
Oh, really?
for this
You knew we
very
were doing
occasion.
this. Oh,
Yeah.
All right. Wow. All right.
All right. Well, it's Saturday morning, time for my morning coffee, and I'm going to share my mug with you. This was purchased for me by my stepdaughter in Tokyo at a store called Frank, which should give you a clue. And it is Japan amazing. It's got, first of all, a gorilla with a crown. So he's clearly the king of the gorillas. On the back here, we have a gorilla muzzle, which I think the idea behind this is that when I'm drinking,
Oh, yeah.
oh, look, I look like a gorilla.
Clever.
And it's not full of coffee yet because I needed you to see the bottom. And I doubt if you can see this, but down at the bottom it says, "Do you want a hug?" So the most
That almost
Japan-
seems like a Yoko Ono art installation where you
Right?
climb to the top of a ladder and it says "breathe"
Exactly.
on a small piece.
I
of
mean,
Right.
be more Japanese, why don't you? I mean,
Right.
that is. Would you say
Yeah.
Japan amazing? Japan amazing.
Japan amazing. That's
Yeah,
right.
that is
The king of gorillas wants to give you a hug.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Fantastic.
good. All right. Nice work, everybody. All right. Let's get into a commercial here. So I'm going to kick things off with this is, I didn't even know this existed. And I thought I'd seen every single commercial in the 90s. This is the most bizarre Beatles related commercial I've ever seen. Nick, I hope you haven't seen this because you're going to love it.
Okay.
Scott, you too. I don't remember this one at all, but I'm pretty sure it's 90s. So here it is. Ringo is in this commercial. I'll let it all be a surprise.
I'd do it in a second. The fans will dig it. They've waited long enough. I've just got to get the other lads to agree. I think I can convince them. I'll say, lads, the time has come to eat our pizza crust first.
Good idea, Ringo. Cool.
Yeah.
Stuffed crust pizza from Pizza Hut with cheese baked into a new, thinner crust. You'll want to eat it crust first. Now with free garlic dipping sauce.
Wrong, lads.
Large is $9.99.
Wrong, lads. It was the
Yep.
it was the Monkees, and they were going to eat a stuffed crust pizza reverse style with Ringo. Scott, have you seen that one before?
Yeah, that
Of
was
course.
from the mid '90s, right?
Yep.
If you really want to see something crazy, you should see the Ringo commercials that he did for Japanese leisure suits in the '70s, where flying saucers come down in a park and tell him all about leisure suits. And yeah, that's even weirder than the Monkeys pizza commercial.
I wonder if he didn't say no to anything back then. I feel
Well,
like
let's
he's
see. Maybe we'll see in the commercials later some other
Oh.
examples.
Oh,
Who knows?
Yep.
what he didn't
Right.
say no to. Great.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you've got this lined up, George, but just saying the Japanese word for apple is Ringo.
Let's see.
okay.
We'll
All
just have to
right.
see.
Yeah.
Okay. Nick, you had never seen that commercial before,
No,
right?
that did not ring a bell. I mean, I ate the stuffed crust pizza before, but I didn't
course.
remember that commercial.
I did too, but
Yeah, I remember seeing that, I think, when I was in graduate school. So I'd say that was probably around 95, 96, something like that.
yeah.
And no, Mike Nesmith had the guts to turn that down,
Yeah,
and which is why I'm
There's only
wearing this
3
hat.
monkeys. Yeah.
Wait, but Ringo didn't. Ringo said yes. I have a feeling he says yes to everything, especially after seeing Get Back. During that scene where he's in the room and he goes, "I just farted." Like, you remember
Yeah.
when he did that? Where he just said
Yeah.
it out of the blue? I mean,
Yeah.
he pulled a me at Roadside Attraction.
But he was next to George Martin, not my ex-girlfriend.
All right, let's get into the Beatles cartoon. So, Scott, you sent me over a bunch of facts, and there's so much stuff. Stop me if
Yeah.
I'm missing some things, but
Okay.
this is 1964. A producer named Al Brodix at King Features. And King Features was big in the 60s because they had Popeye, and Popeye was just like, that was bringing in the dough for him. So this guy, Al, he saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan, and just like everybody did, and immediately started thinking about a Beatles cartoon. And of course it was greenlit immediately. And they started production in 1965 and just shat out episodes. Just like, and the writers were asked just to be as generic as possible, so the show could go on in syndication forever. Like, Scott, I asked you, like, is there a Christmas episode or something in here? Is there a Thanksgiving? No, they wanted to keep it as bland and evergreen as possible, so it will always slip into the syndication. Smart move. So
Yep. And the episodes are all revolving around some sort of international thing. They go to Japan many times. They go to Hawaii many times. They end up in Transylvania a whole bunch of times.
They always do. Egypt. There has to be an Egypt, right? There's always an Egypt.
Egypt, and Ringo bumps into a mummy.
Of course.
I mean, I was so tempted to send that episode, but
Well, you sent some good ones. Yeah. So, okay, the voice is Paul Frees. Is that how you pronounce it? He played John and George. And here's the thing. Here's the thing about Shaturday. Like, we need to know about Paul Frees because he was the Welker of his era, of maybe like more like the 60s era, even though Welker, I think, dipped into the 60s. But he's most well known for Boris, of Boris and Natasha. He has over 300 cartoon credits. We've probably heard him a million times. And he also does practically every other voice in the show. So let's see, Paul and Ringo, they were voiced by a character actor named Lance Percival. And Scott, you said something interesting in your email to me. You said you thought that 90% of Beatles imitators have never actually heard the Beatles speak, and that they're just imitating this cartoon instead.
Yeah, 100%. It's all Lance Percival. I think his Ringo and his Paul. Anytime you see a Beatle impersonator, it's like, oh, hello, I'm Ringo. Yeah. It sounds nothing like Ringo Starr, but it sounds an awful lot like the cartoon Ringo Starr. So I think this cartoon might have had more influence on pop culture than we give it credit for.
Definitely. And Nick, do you have a Beatles impression? I feel like you do.
Sure, yeah. I mean, but it is probably based on other people's impressions. Like, I think of Dana Carvey's Paul McCartney. We were just plunking around. And then, we were plunking around, and that was yesterday. It was always just like they were just messing around. They were just four lads from school. And,
all right. So the scripts here, they're basically plotless. There's no plot to any of these. It was just an excuse for like the Beatles to run around in the background during a song. That's the best part about these cartoons are the songs. They play the full Beatles songs, and the Beatles characters, they're all based on their stereotypes. John is the leader, Paul is charming, George is cynical and quiet, and Ringo's dumb. And that's a big reason, Scott, you were saying why the Beatles hated this so much. They hated this cartoon. Let me hold on. Let me bring this up. I have okay, so you sent this, like, here's the Hey Kids, a whole morning of cartoons on ABC. So here they are in front of it. Like, you said that like look at this. Paul and Ringo, Paul and George are kind of playing ball, but it seems like Ringo and John, really their hearts aren't into it. Yeah. It seems like they're
especially John. John was really upset and did not want to be there.
Yeah, look at this, George. Are you going to say something?
I mean, just imagine if you're Ringo and you see that that's how you're depicted. Like nobody would. Look, he doesn't look happy.
Looks like a cartoon bird. I mean, it's a caricature.
Goofy.
Yeah. Meanwhile, look at George with chiseled everything, and all right, but then look at this next one here. Look at John, and drinking too. He's looking at it. He's drinking. He's not pleased.
Probably got a rum and coke there. Looking at the storyboards. Yeah.
Definitely.
And if you know anything about John Lennon, probably the last thing you should do is let him drink. That was not a good combination.
Well, so you sent this over too. So I don't know if this is legend or if this is fact. John
is
ended
fact.
up. It's fact. He
Oh,
ended
yeah.
up drinking too much and he crawled underneath a table at the studio, right? And he didn't
Yep.
come out.
Right.
He
So
crawled off to sleep in the bath.
he got drunk at the studio and hated it so much, and then yeah. Oh, I love it. You know what? That's the best part of being a rock star. You can show up to this thing where they made a cartoon about you, for crying out loud. You should be excited about this, but instead he gets drunk and then acts like a child. That's fantastic.
And he was the first one. He was a trailblazer in getting drunk and acting like a child. Never forget the Beatles did everything first.
Standing on the shoulders of giants. Yeah.
They really are. All right, what else? Oh, so yeah, they hated the show. Scott, you're saying they did not allow this to be shown in England. They're just like, just United States. But despite all that, it was a hit. Like all 3 years, it was a hit. And of course, because there's Beatles songs involved, it's going to be a hit. So as the series progressed, the animation, it got like better. It got more interesting, and it led to Yellow Submarine ultimately. Right? I mean, like Yellow Submarine wouldn't have happened without this Beatles cartoon.
Yeah, I don't know what you're going to show, but one of the later episodes starts to get kind of sophisticated and psychedelic, and you can see it leads almost direct. As soon as the Saturday morning show was over, King Features and Al Brodax immediately started working on Yellow Submarine, which turned out to be one of the most beloved animated films of all time.
And they hated it at first, right? Or they weren't. They were skeptical, of course.
Right. They were basing it on the Saturday morning show, and they're like, "Oh, are you kidding me? A full-length movie? You got to be kidding me!" But then when they saw how good it was, they showed up at the world premiere and they donated unreleased songs to the soundtrack, and they ended up supporting Yellow Submarine in a way that they did not support the Saturday morning show.
Okay, so
if this cartoon in any way led to Hey Bulldog getting released on an album, then I think it's a net positive, because I love that song.
Yeah.
This dumb cartoon actually led to something worthwhile. So yeah. All right. So Scott, you sent me a bunch of episodes and you had reasons behind all of them. All of these are 5 minutes long. They're just in like 2.5 minutes of it is just their songs. So we're gonna watch two. The first one I chose because it has an over-the-top Italian stereotype in it.
Your wife would be proud.
My wife would be proud of that. What do you think is the over-under for Mamma Mia's? I'm gonna put the over-under for Mamma Mia's at 3. Do you think there are more or less Mamma Mia's in this episode?
More.
I'm gonna say more.
I'm gonna go even. Can I go exactly 3?
You can. Yeah, absolutely, you can.
All right.
All right, so this one is called "I Should Have Known Better." It's based on the song, and then to get around copyright, I had to replace the Beatles songs with the MIDI versions of these. So, which is still kind of fun, actually.
Well, and at first the Beatles didn't like the MIDI version, but then
then they saw how good they were,
Yeah,
and they gave their full support to it. Yeah,
right.
Exactly. All right, so here is "I Should Have Known Better," the Beatles.
Love the intro.
What a disaster! The Romano City Music Hall is burning to the ground.
Too bad, Senor Bombasto. Anybody for toasted marshmallow on a drumstick? Yeah?
You! I saw you rubbing 2 drumsticks together just before the fire started.
I was only warming them up for tonight's performance.
Mamma mia! If we don't find another theater, there won't be.
At this point, like John Lennon just took a huge gulp of his rum and coke, just a huge gulp, and maybe he started to sit down by the table at this point.
This is why I started doing acid.
He dabbled in trepanning at this point, right?
Yeah.
Any performance.
Wait, did we miss Mamma Mia?
This
No,
is perfect,
it's
Senor
first one.
Bombasto. Nobody gonna bother you here. Take my word for it.
What?
Whoa, what an amplifier she's got.
Wagner opera.
Mia, let's
This
Oh,
actually
you-
happened to them in the Philippines.
Based on a true story.
I don't want you guys to step on this Mamma Mia. There's a Mamma Mia coming up here.
Mamma Mia, let's go.
No, that's 3, I think, already.
Is it really?
Yeah, you missed 2.
Uh-huh.
I missed 2 Mamma Mias?
Yeah. You might have missed
wow.
1. I didn't, because you rewound it, but that's either 2 or 3 at this point.
I've heard 2 for sure.
Okay,
I
there's
got
2
2.
Mamma Mias.
All
2
right, so
Mamma
it's
Mias.
2,
All right,
yeah.
here we go.
This is perfect, Signor Bombasto. Nobody gonna bother you here, taking my word for it.
With all due respect to Paul Frees, that doesn't really sound like an Italian guy. It sounds more like Chico Marx.
Mhm.
Hold on, let's listen to it one more
Yeah.
time. Yeah.
Gonna bother you here, take
Nobody's gonna bother you here.
Bombasto. Nobody gonna bother you here, taking my word for it.
Wait. There's a little bit of Italian American in it. Wait.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Help me get out of here.
There's a giant canopy drawing of Queen Victoria. Help us.
That could be a good GIF right there, right? With like
Mm-hmm.
lightning striking a guitar.
For Halloween.
Look at that. Yeah, look at that. That's pretty cool, actually.
That looks like, was it Akira when
Oh, yeah.
when it goes
Oh,
to
yeah.
white? Yeah.
Right.
Stuff happening to the Beatles. That's the premise. Stuff
That
happens to
should
the
be-
Beatles.
That should have been the title of the show. Stuff happening to the Beatles. Usually in Transylvania.
Nobody gonna bother you here. There's not a theater in Rome that's not being used.
Here's one, the Coliseum.
That place is in ruins. It's no good. It's only hold the 90,000 people and 500 lions.
Big joke, 500 lions. Yeah. Yeah. I should have known better.
Yeah, here we go. Song cue.
Here's the MIDI. This is the MIDI version.
I think it's maintains the integrity of the Beatles' performance.
I think so too.
Here's that Abbey Road classic reverb you can
Right.
hear on the snare.
Do-do-do-do.
Things are happening to the Coliseum.
YouTube won't take this down now because we have the MIDI version of this.
I like that harmonica.
Take that, Apple Records. You'll never get your hands on us.
It's the perfect crime.
Give me more.
Oh, so I used a different MIDI version because this goes on for a long time. I thought it would get a
Yeah.
little old with that, so I brought in a new
Is
MIDI
this the
version.
Leibach version?
Yeah.
Right.
All right, here we go.
Even more surreal than a Beatles cartoon.
This must be the version from the White Album.
See what's happening here?
They're bringing down the ancient ruins.
Now they're destroying it.
The rock and roll is too powerful.
Yep. I mean, they play the entire song too. It's like the full song. They don't cut it short.
I feel like 60s cartoons would do that quite a bit, you know? Like, there's a Donnie and Marie one. They played songs in that.
It's just way easier.
The
I'm
Brady
sure it's-
Bunch. The Groovy Ghoulies was mostly just songs, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's barely animation. It's like drawings that move occasionally.
A lot of them reused, yeah.
Yeah.
characters of the Beatles are pretty good, though. You can tell who each one is.
Yeah, they are actually. Like, you can tell Paul.
Yeah, if you're at a boardwalk, like on Venice Beach, and they have their characters done, I'd be like, yeah, that's
Sure.
pretty good.
Boy, they sure don't make ruins like they used to. No.
There we
I
go.
like the theme. I like the intro and outro.
It's pretty good. And you know, Scott, you mentioned that in Get Back that
Yeah.
Paul had actually referenced the Beatles cartoon in that. You sent me an audio clip. I mean, I could play
Yeah.
it. I don't have it
I'm
ready,
not
but-
sure if it actually showed up in Get Back, but a lot more audio circulates among collectors than what was actually in Get Back.
Yeah.
And there's a lovely moment where Paul's working on his brand new song, Get Back, and he's trying to figure out the bass line. And all of a sudden he just laughs and says, that kind of sounds like the Beatles cartoon. And he plays actually a pretty good version of what we just heard. So yeah.
The fact that he remembered that, I feel like that was like,
Yeah.
you know, at that point they show up and they're just like, oh, there's a cartoon about us. Oh, great. And then they never think about it again after they leave. But he
apparently
did.
they did. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, what do you guys think? Thoughts? You guys are all Beatles fans. George,
It's
Nick,
fun.
what do you think? Yeah,
It's surreal with the MIDI music. It makes it even more surreal, but
it's an
I
art
remember-
project.
yeah, I remember when I was in college, a friend of mine who lived in my dorm and I both drove to Chicago to go to a Beatles convention because we were both huge Beatles fans. And we went and it was all middle-aged ladies wearing Ringo's new, like the All-Star Band t-shirts tucked into jeans. And then it was, you know, I was 21, maybe 20 years old at the time. And, but they had somebody came on there who wrote a book about the Paul's dead rumor that we saw him speak. We saw, you know, people who are very peripheral to the Beatles give speeches.
And like self-published books. Like these aren't like, they don't have a publisher. Like they printed this out at Kinko's.
Yeah. And but the highlight was the merch area. And I remember they had bootleg VHSs of the Beatles cartoon on it that I was tempted by because I hadn't seen them. So it's fun to finally watch them.
All right, let's George, you got some commercials for us?
Yeah, I'm sure that many books have been written about Beatles merchandising, and many more will be. But we're going to look at, some Beatles merchandise commercials from the era, and then some commercials that exploited the concept of the Beatles that are more recent, and then maybe a surprise last commercial. You'll see who shows up. Saturday morning cartoons will be right back.
Hello. See these little fellas? They're the Beatles. Inflatable Beatles. They're yours, the four of them, for just $2 and 2 wrappers from Dove or Lux or Lifebuoy. So you'll find the Beatles at your supermarket in this display. Here's John, Ringo, George, and Paul. For full details, visit this display at your supermarket and have the Beatles, all four of them, for your very own.
Bird. How do you like the new threads? Tough. I didn't know you were a Beatle fan,
Tough.
Grandma. What?
Never heard
the
that.
leader of the pack, baby. Dig these. The Beatles? Paul McCartney and Ringo Starr. Oh, real gear, aren't they?
Horrifying. They're never flattering.
That's not the right expression.
The new personality bath. It's a real swinger. Mild, wild Beetle with an out-of-this-world fragrance. I got a split.
Do they always talk like this to each other?
A bath
Some people
this
talk in
mild, wild
mid-60s.
Beetle is really out of sight.
Race to your supermarket for the new pink personality bath. Beetle in the new Paul and Ringo Beetle bottles.
Looking for a girl and boy, you can make beautiful bubbles together. Ooh, bubble, bubble back. Bubble magic in a bubble stack. Bubble magic.
Oh, Richard Lester direct this?
Wait, who?
Comes with magic solution, dipper cup,
Hard
blower, and
Day's Night
3
director.
bubbleizers.
Tire Kingdom, tires.
New tires are what you need. The lowest price is guaranteed. At Tire Kingdom, the best tires at the best price.
They never cut away to tires.
And we always treat you nice. Ooh, Tire Kingdom, tires, tires, tires.
And they all look exactly like Paul McCartney.
Yep.
It's even got a
Every single one of
Rickenbacker.
them.
Wow.
リンゴ吸った
リンゴスター
No! リンゴ吸ったリンゴの見た
Ah, it means apple.
宝すりおろしリンゴ新発売
Ringos.
Now back to Saturday morning cartoons.
Wait, did it stop there?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's off a little early.
Okay. Oh boy. Wow. All right. That was good. Scott, had you seen all those? I would assume you're.
I did not see the unbeatable tire commercial, which I thought was interesting because, like Nick said, they didn't show tires. They really were banking on you listening to the lyrics about how good their.
You'd think that they would have had some flying windows going by of some tires or
They
something.
were too
like
proud
that.
of their multiplicity effect with all four guys playing every instrument.
Yeah.
Or maybe a second camera so he could have done the green screen thing, you know.
Exactly.
Yeah. They're like never cut away.
Yeah. But yes, I'd seen all the others, and the inflatable doll, the first commercial that George showed there, those were based directly on the cartoon images. If you take a closer look.
Sure, those
really?
were at the convention with all the older ladies.
Oh yeah. They
Now,
sold
did-
a lot of those. They're pretty easy to find.
Did cartoon John Lennon leave his cartoon wife in the cartoon, or did
Not that I know of,
Okay.
but you know there are an awful lot of interesting things that the cartoon Beatles did first, right? They ended up in India before the real Beatles did. They ended up in Japan before the real Beatles did.
You're right.
This one episode, John leaves the band and moves to Greenwich Village, which he actually did. Paul McCartney actually did play the Coliseum in Rome. I mean, it gets a little weird if you know a lot about
right?
the Beatles.
Cartoon George joined the Wilburys first
Right.
before he was replaced by
Like
actual
the
George Harrison. Yeah.
Cartoon
Cartoon
Wilburys,
Tom
right.
Petty and
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's right. All right, you ready to go on to part two? Here, this is it's another 5-minute-er. I mean, they're so digestible. I love them so much. Like, yeah. All right, so this is Tomorrow Never Knows. And then we're gonna do the sing along afterwards, which every episode had one sing along in the middle. They had two episodes.
Two sing-alongs.
Oh, two sing alongs. So they had a 5-minute episode, a sing along, a 5-minute episode, then a sing along.
Yeah, two sing-alongs in the middle.
Two sing-alongs in the middle. That's where they put them.
right.
Okay. All right. So we are going to watch Tomorrow Never Knows, and then the sing-along that I'm going to keep as a surprise. And you said this is a creative attempt to animate probably the most difficult song that ever appeared on the show. Tomorrow Never Knows, and it's not horrible.
No,
it's
I
not
love
horrible.
it. I think it's pretty good.
I think it's pretty good too. Yeah, and I can't tell. It might be problematic. I can't tell, but
it is.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when they say she's speaking foreign.
Yeah, yeah. There's some things 1960s they didn't get the memo on at that point. So, all right, and then I'll get into the bonus in a second. But for now, here is Tomorrow Never Knows.
A fine shortcut you got us on, Paul. I don't believe you know where we are.
Oh, yes, I do. I'm following Ringo's nose.
Then we're in for a long trip.
Let's rest here a bit. Funny looking.
I assume they're at Stonehenge there. Never really say.
Yeah.
They're just kind of like on a walk on a very small earth.
very abstract. Yeah.
Yep. And they would always hang out together. They do everything together, right? I'm sure.
Just like the monkeys.
Yep.
Aye, there's a well.
Where did he go? Down this hole, I think. It's a well. Hey, Ringo! Ringo, hey! Hey, Ringo, come back! Hey, look out!
I'm going to turn it down a little bit.
Oh, where are we?
Crunch.
Get on top of me. Get off. Hey, we're upside down. What's happened?
Oh, that's better. We must have gotten used to it. But where are we?
We must be at the center of the earth.
The inner world.
But how are we going to get back?
Yeah, let's look around. Come on.
rum-looking place.
Hey, look, we're inside a statue. Yeah, Kinky. And look at all those strange-looking people out there. Let's ask them the way out. I say, can you tell us the way out?
No,
They're running away. Look, they left one behind. Don't be afraid. It's talking foreign, and it's scared. Only one thing to do. Ready? Yeah.
Let's play a song for the natives.
Yep. So this is the MIDI version.
I cannot believe this was in a cartoon.
I know. And this is one of the coolest. It's so psychedelic and like such a cool like Beatles song. Like
Very
I love
George.
it. Scott, do you know? Was this season 3 when they were getting closer to Yellow Submarine?
Yeah, this is really close toward the end.
Okay.
Yeah, but I mean, again, the thing to remember, I don't want to step on this because it's so cool.
Yeah.
But this song was recorded in April of 1966. The show started in September of 1965. That's what a disconnect there was, because it was going from this goofy Saturday morning cartoon with no plot.
Yeah.
And just a couple months later, the Beatles were recording Tomorrow Never Knows. That
Right.
was the disconnect between the Saturday morning cartoon and the actual group.
Yeah.
And it took them a couple years, but finally the animators got to this, and I think they did a pretty good job on it.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, it'd be way cooler with the actual song right here.
Yeah, that's kind of a cool
Exactly.
shot.
Look at it. Yeah, I wonder if they hired new animators or if they, after the first couple seasons that made a bunch of money, they're like, oh, we can bring in some like cooler artists.
Well, they took the animation team over to meet the Maharishi, and
Well, if I know animation at all, like, they're always looking for the cheapest solution. I really doubt they're like, oh, let's spend more money.
I wonder if George Martin oversaw the MIDI versions.
I think so. He's pretty hands-on.
I mean, all these would be great T-shirts too. Like, there's so many.
I don't mind this MIDI version.
No, it's not.
That's
bad.
how good the song is.
Yes,
The MIDI
exactly.
version.
Yeah.
Even the MIDI version kicks ass. God. it
Yeah,
just makes me-
the brown natives with spears probably.
I know. Well,
yeah.
at least they said that they're from like Inner Earth. You
Yeah,
know, it didn't.
right. Yeah.
They didn't assign them a
Right.
continent.
Yeah, maybe it's the Eloy from
Right.
the Time Machine.
I love that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See, that's the T-shirt
Moose
right there.
character.
Right?
That's-
so cool.
Mal Evans played him, right? Is that?
That's right. Or maybe Neil Aspinall. We don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be a great deep cut T-shirt, like for the
I mean,
true Beatles fan.
I
Like
would
to
buy that
have-
in a heartbeat.
Let's all wear it to the next Beatles convention.
And so-
Rosemont Hotel and
You should have
Anybody
sold
knows
that.
it. Yeah.
You should have sold that there, Nick. All right, I think we're going to come out of it pretty soon here, so I'm going to turn it back up so we can hear this important dialogue.
that's supposed to be a hieroglyphic of like Ringo.
Those guys kind of feel like something from Yellow Submarine. Kind of the
Oh,
Sea of
definitely.
Monsters kind of
Mhm.
thing. Yeah.
Yep.
Definitely, yeah. Ooh, Minnie's having a little fun. Look at what they're doing here.
I'm freaking out, man.
Said every 6-year-old watching this on a Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. Well, keep that in mind. 6-year-old, like probably like 6-year-old, like yeah.
I think they liked it.
I
wonder what he said.
Okay, so here's the thing. They reversed that. So I think I can go in reverse and we can hear what he actually said.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it works on QuickTime, but
Yeah, he said what I want.
Were you able to understand that?
Still sounded backwards.
No, I listened to it on my editing program, and you could say you could hear what he was saying, and it's.
I wonder what he said. He said what I wonder.
No, you can't tell.
It's too fast, yeah.
Yeah, but for people watching at home, you can reverse it.
It's backwards masking. It's satanic.
It's,
or he's inviting Agent Cooper to the Red Room.
Right. I was going to say this was reused in Eyes Wide Shut, I think, right? When
I think
Nightingale's playing piano.
I heard I Bury Paul. I heard
Right.
that's what I heard there.
I reversed it. I was hoping for something like kind of naughty or something like where they're having some fun, but it was pretty straight. It was just like, these are the Beatles, or I can't remember what they said. But
Nixon won't make it through his second term.
I wonder what he said. He said they want us to stay with them. No, oops. Help! They want to marry us. What? Run for it!
The Don Martin sound effect. Crash.
Yeah.
Hey, we're upside down again. Oh, that's better. Hey, we're back. What happened? We fell up a well. Up a well? Yeah, and all's well that ends well. Ends well.
Classic Beatles wit.
They just always hung out together, and they always had fun together.
Things happen to them.
If Get Back taught us anything, it was that the Beatles always hung out and they always did fun things together, and they had a great time. And they went on a lot of adventures. So, all right, here's the bonus. Here's one of the sing-alongs, and I just cut like a short moment from this, but this sing-along was on this particular episode too. It was for She Said. You know that one?
I know what it's like to be said.
Yes, imagine all the 8-year-olds sitting around with their breakfast cereal watching the Beatles cartoon show, and then this comes on. Sing along, kids.
Yep. And so again, I had to put the MIDI version on, but they played the real version. Again, another great song. But yeah, you said it's got to be seen to be believed, because the fact that they're playing this for kids, 10-year-olds are watching this. Yes. It starts with that.
Was this also about Peter Fonda's comments when he was taking LSD?
Yep.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was the sing along, and I just try to imagine. My niece and nephew are like 7 and 9. I just try to picture them like watching. I know what it's like to be dead. They would have so many questions. I know they would.
It was the dawn of the unattended child from then to like 1995, I think. Like,
yep.
It was just 30 years of kids having to navigate the universe from day one.
It made us the people that we are today. So here we are.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, exactly. All right, what do you guys think? Do you want more? Like, do you want to watch more after that? I actually feel like I enjoyed it more than I did when I was by myself. When I watched it with you guys, I had way more fun.
Well, I'm excited to see what the game is. I'm very curious about your game show for this.
Okay, well, let's jump into it then. So it's a game. So today I had to spend a lot of time on the MIDI sites. This particular game is called Name That MIDI.
Yes.
Beatles edition.
Yes, I'm
okay.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, so here's the thing. You guys are all Beatles experts. I will go ahead and say, I'll say that Scott, you're number one because you actually wrote a book. These slackers haven't written a book yet.
No.
But if you lose this game,
then we wrote your book. That's how it works.
Yeah.
We're the ghostwriters.
I'm going to play you 5 Beatles midis.
Mhm.
And Scott, if you lose, you should be ashamed of yourself because you
I'm
wrote a
already
book
ashamed.
about the Beatles. So
Yes.
you shouldn't lose. Okay. Nick, if you lose, you should be ashamed because you used to attend Beatles conventions.
Yeah,
All right.
and I've been to Liverpool twice. I went into Ringo's childhood home on one trip of that.
Exactly.
And,
So
yeah.
so you should
No
you should
excuse.
get all these too. And then George, if you lose, you should be ashamed because you're a Beatles fan, but you're also a musician. So I feel like
Right.
this is like
And the
I mean,
glasses.
and the glasses. You have your
Mhm.
John Lennon glasses on. So all right. So here's how we play it. I'm just gonna play the song and then you just blurt it out as soon as you know it. We're not gonna do individuals, just blurt it out as soon as you hear it. I'll crank it up. All right, it's loud, so you shouldn't have a problem hearing it. We're gonna play 5 songs. We're starting off easy. We're gonna work up to hard ones. Ready?
Yep.
Here we go.
Hard
Hard
Day's
Day's
Night.
Night. Simultaneous.
All right, everybody gets a point for that one. All right. You heard that? Bling.
Yeah.
The tinny.
The opening chorus.
Most
Most
famous
famous
chord.
opening chord ever.
Yep.
Okay, here's number 2. Everybody's tied with 1. All right, here we go.
Oh, darling.
Oh, darling.
Oh, wow, everybody again. All right, we're starting off easy. Everybody's tied with 2.
I like the fake sax.
And a song with no sax. Yeah.
And also that's Ringo from the stuffed crust
Yeah, stuffed
Pizza Hut
crust
commercial. Yeah.
That's Mickey Dolenz dressed as the Sizzler sea captain.
Okay, I think this
Or
one's.
is it secretly Mike Nesmith?
No. There you go.
I think this next one is not going to be as recognizable right off the first couple chords. Maybe I'm wrong. You guys will probably prove me wrong, but here we go.
Oh, Baby You're a Rich Man.
George in the lead.
Nice.
Yep. All right, George.
well done.
George is up 3-2 to
Well
2.
played. Well played.
We're going deep cuts here. I wasn't familiar with this song, but I'll be impressed if you guys actually get this one. This is off of. I'll give you a little clue here. This is off Past Masters.
Mhm.
All right,
For
here we go.
volume 1 or 2?
1.
Okay.
Oh, yes, it is.
Cop, give me Dinah Hahn.
Fab Boys.
Nice, Scott.
Oh. I was talking over it with my joke.
Yeah. All right. So yeah, Scott and George tied.
Wow. All right, I gotta catch up.
3 to 1. You know what, Nick? For the sake of you, I'm going to add this as a 3-point bonus because it's so hard.
Christ.
It's a
Okay.
3-point bonus. So Nick, if you get this one, you could win.
Okay.
Yeah, I forgot to tell you guys that beforehand. This is a 3-point bonus one. This is the last one going into it. Here we go. No clues.
Revolution 9.
Blue Jay Way.
George got it. George got it.
Oh yeah, now I hear it.
Yes, I wrote Scott's book. Oh man, I gotta update LinkedIn.
It's also the rest of Revolution 9 MIDI.
The whole thing.
Yeah. And I did listen to the whole thing.
Oh wow.
Is it like
George.
8 minutes long?
Yes, it's the same exact. It's the same exact time. Yeah. So, nice work,
wow.
George. Wow, you
That
did
was-
it.
Yeah.
I didn't
Did
think
you-
anybody was going to get that one. Wow.
That was
That piano
inscrutable.
part's pretty good.
That was number 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
Number 9.
Oh my god.
All right. Well, Nick, you should be ashamed of yourself.
I am.
Scott, George is the
So
new
ashamed.
author on your book now.
Yep.
And
We'll update all the
George,
covers.
okay. George, congratulations. Did you learn anything? Like, let's hear a speech. Do you have anything to say?
Did I learn something? Well,
Yeah.
4 young men conquered an entire artistic domain, summing up all who came before and paving the way for all who would follow. They committed timeless sound and images to tape that changed society inexorably. Their legend threatened to overshadow their work. Were they sending messages? Was one of them dead? Some say they're overrated. But for the layperson, to the finest scholars in their field, their work will remain unequaled, even if their merchandising was out of control. T-shirts that were hard to explain, but their four names will ring out through all time. The Fab Four: Joe, Nick, Steve, and George.
Yes.
And that's why I always say, the more you battle is twice the knowing.
Wiser
Yeah.
words have never been spoken. Nice
Or
work.
as
Excellent
Cartoon
work.
Ringo would say, yeah.
Direct
laugh
quote
that
from
way.
him. Yeah.
About 6 times an episode.
Yeah.
They did give him like that was his catchphrase was
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Horrible.
So Scott, you wrote a book called Lennonology.
Yes.
And it's all about John Lennon. I mean, like you took a deep dive. This is available on Amazon for Beatles fans. You have to own this. Tell us about the book. Oh, there it is. All right.
Yep, there it is. So there are thousands of Beatles books out there. Most of them are not very good, mostly because people tended to copy what went before. You know, somebody wrote a good book in 1970 and then they would copy it in 1972. Nobody was doing original research. Second of all, nobody writes about the solo years, right? If you have a 500-page biography of Paul McCartney, the Beatles break up on page 450. And then the last 40 years are summed up in the last 50 pages. So my co-author, Chip Madinger, and I, Chip is a really well-known scholar, and he kind of specializes in the solo years, decided it was time to really write the book to end all books about John Lennon. And we were not going to rely on anything that went before us. We were going to do primary research on every single thing. If we couldn't find it in a contemporary source, we wouldn't write it down.
Nice.
Right. And once we started writing it, it was just going to be about John. And we got about 6 months into the project and we realized you can't tell John's story without talking about Yoko. I mean, they were inextricably linked. So it's a day-by-day diary format. And it starts on the day that John met Yoko and ends on the day that he was murdered, and is a day-by-day comprehensive.
Day by
account
day,
of
every
their-
single day, you
Well,
document what he as close as you could get.
as close as we could. There were a couple days
Yeah.
where I'm sure he didn't even get out of bed, and we don't have a record of that.
Right.
But
There's
yeah,
video of him not getting out of bed.
Absolutely, yes.
Right.
Scott, was
so
the
as close
story
as we could,
about
yeah.
was the story about the Saturday Night Live episode where Lorne Michaels said, you know, I'm going to offer this check for, what was it, $500 if the Beatles will reunite here.
Yeah.
A little less for Ringo. And is it true that John and Paul were both in New York at the time and thought about coming down or something like that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Paul was visiting John at the Dakota, and they were watching Saturday Night Live together. And for a split second, they thought, we should just go down there and do that. And then John just kind of blew it off in one of his final interviews. He just said, yeah, we were too tired and decided not to do it. So I'm not, right. So I'm not quite sure. And Lorne Michaels said that he sat in the studio for a couple hours afterwards, just waiting, just hoping that they were going to come by. And, you know, he was just crestfallen to find out that they had watched the show and then didn't show up.
And considered it.
Yeah. But George came back and tried to claim his share of the check.
That's right.
A few months later. So it was a running joke that went on for years and years and years. But yeah, no, John and Paul were together that night.
Nice. All right.
I want to read that book.
Pick up the book. Oh, wait, one more question. How much did you love Get Back? Like, how much did it blow your mind? I mean, because you'd been doing all this research about them. Like, was there a lot of new information that you didn't know about and to see them work creatively, or was there?
The thing is that the audio tapes of that entire month, 95% of them have already circulated among collectors. And so I've heard every single sound. But what was mind-blowing was to hear a sound that I've known for years, and then to see the visuals matched up with it. So a lot,
like I farted, for example, you get to see Ringo's churlish grin.
Right. Or, you know, I mean, it was big things too. You know, John would say something really snarky to Paul, and you thought, God, man, that was mean. And then when you see the video and you see that he's smiling, like, oh, you big punk, you realize, oh, he was just kidding.
It changes the tone of it. Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. So it changed the tone on a lot of things for me. There's a little bit of controversy. People are talking about how Peter Jackson kind of rewrote some of the narrative, kind of edited it creatively to kind of tell a slightly different story.
Yeah, Ringo actually only burped.
Right.
So
exactly.
Got that part wrong.
And he
CGI.
threw in the word farted from a different tape, and yeah, it's a big thing.
Right.
But,
right.
yeah.
he best farted.
I feel like Peter Jackson added the green stink lines that came out of Ringo too, like after
From
he
Yellow
said that he-
Submarine.
Right, it was the green
Peter Mac
stink
sorta,
lines and the
Right.
flies buzzing around. Yeah.
And they created a whole new special effects house just to be able to perform that fart effect.
Exactly.
So it worked out really
Peter
well.
Jackson. Yeah.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Well, nice work. Everybody pick up Lennonology. Amazon, that's the place to get it, right?
Yeah, or go to Lennonology.com. You can buy directly from us.
Perfect.
So there we go.
Even better.
Yeah.
Let's do it that way.
Yep. And
Our-
you can actually download the first 3 chapters for free at Lennonology.com.
Sweet. Even
Yep.
better.
Yes.
All right.
We'll see y'all at the next Beatles convention.
All right.
So
That's
bring
all.
your
That's it.
checkbooks.
Yes. Happy Shat.
Happy Shaturday, boys.
Happy
I got
Shaturday.
blisters on my fingers.